Aquarius, welcome to your weekly sidereal forecast for August 24th through the 30th. My name is Athen. So we've got a full moon this week right in your first house of Aquarius, conjuncting up to Neptune. So you guys have been going through this, spiritual sort of transformation, if you will, over the past many years about who you are, your identity, going with the flow, having faith, trust, maybe learning more about Christ or Buddha for those of you who are into more of the Eastern approach to those things. But whatever it is, the full moon is activating that Neptunian energy for all of us. But in your first house, it makes it very significant for you Aquarians. So with that being said, this is a high point and culmination of over the past 6 months, which have been the new beginnings. That's when you guys had your birthdays and such, for those of you watching for your sun sign. And so culminating now, any new beginnings, any new intentions you set around that time period can certainly come to a fruition. You should have an awareness of the self. Now, do keep in mind that, Neptune here in the self has been sort of, creating that more internal understanding of self, more of a spiritual self, not so much like an identity or a label kind of thing, but you can certainly feel, who you are, what you're doing. You can have that confidence. You can have that assertiveness with this high energy in your first house through having that Neptunian energy, that trust and faith and flow, etc., compassion, empathy, all of that. So that's going to be the high point, certainly the high point for you Aquarians this week. It's on Saturday. So as the week unfolds, more of that energy will be coming more and more emphasized. Now, this is also relating to the fact that you guys had a new moon about a week or two ago in your 7th house of relationships, a week or two depending on when you're watching this. And that's where a lot of energy is still going to be taking place. Jupiter's been transiting your 7th house over the past few months, so you should continue to have plenty of opportunities to connect, one-on-one connections, exchanges, relationships should be going quite well, generally speaking, for all of you. And the sun conjoins over Jupiter Tuesday through Thursday of this week. So more expansion there, more opportunities there with your relationships. Very nice energy. Maybe you're, getting more in touch with the philosophical or spiritual aspects on a more theoretical or wisdom-based side of things, which is Jupiter. But whatever it is, it's always very nice. I think you guys can be quite optimistic, feeling quite good, especially in terms of your relations with others. And this full moon can also be a culmination point and a high point of any new beginnings that you did start or came into your life during that new moon a week or two ago. So that's going to be the early part of the week, mostly highlighting that Jupiter and Sun energy. And then also around Wednesday, Mercury sextiles up to your ruler Saturn. So your guys' communication, I would say, can certainly be quite good this week, especially about more of the deeper aspects of life. With the North Node transiting your 8th house for about the past 2 years, your life path, generally speaking, for all of you, depending on your personal charts, has been slightly gearing you towards understanding more about truth, what life is really about, what's really going on behind the surface, whether it's within yourself, with relationships, with the world at large. And so now Mercury aspecting that this week can mean your communications can certainly be highlighted here in regards to that. There's a lot shifting, a lot of new things changing. I think you being open to learning more about the truth of life and communicating and expressing truth of how you feel and those kinds of things will be that shift towards more of this life path energy. Lots of self-expression, I would say, since Mercury does rule your 5th house, also about these 8th house matters. So that being said, I think that's going to be a high point energy, especially because it's going to be sextiling up to your ruler Saturn, who's been transiting your 9th. So you guys have maybe been solidifying your philosophy on life, spirituality, travel, things like that, but taking it very seriously and putting in the hard work and discipline that's necessary with that. So continuing with that this week, that should go quite smoothly, generally speaking, and I think you can channel in a lot of this, responsibility about wisdom into this communication or whatever it is you're exchanging or talking about, or whether maybe it might be relationship related or what have you this week. So that's the major transits. We have 3, that Jupiter, Sun, Mercury, the North Node, and then that sextile up to Saturn. So that's it. And then as we approach Saturday, more of that full moon about self. Again, goals, pursuits. You can see self quite clearly. You can see what your drives are quite clearly, as well as your relationships. And it's a really good week for both of those things. One thing I want to mention too is that Venus is getting closer to Mars this week. They'll go exact next week. So there should be a lot of passion actually to want to connect, maybe to enjoy more of the career stuff. You could certainly be doing that this week, enjoying more of those communications, and maybe even enjoy more of, or actually really connecting to and putting energy into home and family matters, really being driven on that level. That could be very motivating as well. And of course, your ninth house of philosophy can be very motivating also. So that's the general gist of the week for you, Aquarians. If you guys have any questions, please do let me know. If you're new to this form of astrology, do check the description down below, because this is different from traditional mainstream astrology. You'll probably find that your sign is different, so you'll want to watch the appropriate sign for that. But have a nice week. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you all next time.